And I think in our early years, Tracy, especially, it was tough to find people who wanted to come forward and say, I know this is actually a problem. We'd love help with this.
Yeah.
It's hard to make people feel comfortable enough, but I think we're at the point, we've long been at the point at the campus where we're able to provide a safe space for process owners to come forward and be like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I know this is a mess, or I know this is wasteful. I know we could do this better. And oftentimes they've got ideas too, but there just isn't enough time, or they can't get people to buy in. So once we prove all of the waste that we could eliminate, then they can get people, leadership or whomever, to buy into some of the solutions.
Hey everybody, I'm Elizabeth Swan.
And I'm Tracy O'Rourke. We're from the Just in Time Cafe, and welcome to our podcast at the cafe. We wrestle with tough questions, talk to groundbreakers, discuss great books, and get insights from Lean Six Sigma practitioners who are making a difference in the world.
We let you in on helpful apps, we bring you the news, and we challenge the status quo so you can build your problem-solving muscles.
So Elizabeth, what is on the cafe menu today?
It's a good menu, Tracy. It's a good menu. The highlight is our interview with Ahren Crickard, the director for the Center of Operational Excellence at UC San Diego, and she'll be sharing all things Process Palooza, the yearly problem-solving festival with the highest octane MC available, a certain Tracy O'Rourke. For hot apps, we'll give you our take on a conference app and what it does for networking. And then for Q&A, we'll ask, how do we feel about getting lost? Is it a failure or an opportunity? So fill that mug with something good, sit back, and join us.
Up next is hot apps.
Yeah, today's app is Whova, pronounced, Whova. And then I'm going to have to stop right there because Whova is what someone from Boston calls a vacuum cleaner. Where's the Whova? But we're talking about a conference app, not a vacuum cleaner, that you and I, Tracy, have both recently been exposed to. So these apps are becoming pretty standard at conferences. The recent AME Cleveland conference used Cvent. That looks a little bit pricier. And then last month, KaiNexus hosted their KaiNexicon conference, and they used Whova. So I thought we could dive into, our comparative experiences. So there's clearly options out there for conference sponsors who want to address the kind of the networking side of their events. And, everyone wants to hear speakers. They want to attend workshops. That's all great. But people are also looking to learn from each other too. They want to kind of expand their knowledge network. So I'm curious about your experience and how it compares to mine, Tracy. So you used Whova during the Central Coast Lean Conference. What was it? What was your take?
So this is, I was introduced to Whova actually a few years back. So it was shortly after COVID that I got exposure to the app. And I believe that it has made some significant improvements since then. And I'll be honest, I feel like we're more sophisticated users now of these kinds of things. You know how when COVID started, nobody even knew how to use Zoom? And it took like 3 months before people started figuring out how to use Zoom, and then we could do more interesting things. I kind of feel like it was the same thing with Whova, because it was sort of a fancy app for conferences. And I honestly feel like it seemed like a cool experience, but I don't think it was being leveraged as much as it could have been by the users at that time. It did feel a little too much. It felt a bit confusing. It did leave me wondering how many attendees wanted to invest their time in learning how to use it. I tend to take a lot of pictures when I go to conferences. I love to share on social media. That's one of my favorite things, is connecting with people, meeting with people, capturing the moment. And I, and I love these apps, especially if it makes it easier to connect with other conference attendees and allow pic sharing. So of course, that is one of my favorite features of Whova, is the community board, where where attendees can post. They can post messages, they can share photos, engage in discussion with all the event participants, and they make it easier to connect with the people that are there, which is cool. Because that's actually sometimes you'll share something on LinkedIn, but you're not connected to all these people yet, or they don't know you. So Because I really like to see the other things, the other pictures people are capturing too.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting because now there's a time lapse between you and you experienced it and when I did. So I found actually the phone version of Whova kind of hard to navigate. I kept wanting to go look at it on my laptop because it was really hard to separate the stream of information and options. It was like kind of confusing. I like being able to see the whole list of events and comments. And I did like being able to connect directly with conference participants. There was a place where you could offer up a LinkedIn addresses if you wanted to connect with folks. There were places for people to ask me questions about my keynote, and that helped. You could even put questions out to the group. I was curious about what people were reading, so I asked people about their current books. But I feel like I'm just actually reflecting on your experience and mine. I think it's up to the event coordinators to help the users use the event app. You know what I mean? That you have to encourage it and help guide people because it's technology. For some, it's new for that event. You know, each event might be yet another app for somebody. That it's really up to the event organizers to make that easy to encourage people to get on there because it's not useful unless it gets used. And in contrast, I was totally impressed with this table trivia game that they did at KaiNexicon that was for participants. And it caused us at the table to become a team. Like each person was from a different company. And then we had to really quickly figure out who knew what so that we could get, and then of course we had a ringer next to us, Mark Graben, who I was extracting whatever hints we could get from him. But that caused us to get to know each other. And I really knew my table. But I know that your opportunity at a conference is to get to know a whole lot more people, right? So how do you take advantage of that? So we look at it from that user perspective, but the people who purchase this thing, the ones who pay for it, are the event organizers. So what did you learn about the pricing structure for them?
So conference apps are all free for participants, and the event sponsors pay based on the number of participants and the length of the event. So a starter plan is $14.99 for up to 500 attendees for a 2-day event. A standard plan, 2,000 or almost 3,000 for up to 1,000 attendees for a 2-day event. And Pro Plan is about 6,000 for up to 2,000 attendees for a 2-day event. So it's a little pricier than some of the other conference apps, but I feel like if it engages people and there's a lot of activities, I totally 100% agree with you, Elizabeth. I feel like people are so busy these days that sometimes it seems more like a barrier to learn a new app unless you take the time to keep referring to the app or showing people on the app or having a little exercise for people to go on the app to play that game. I think is a perfect way to engage people and get them to use it in a fun way. So they're learning how to use it because, people always learn right when they're about to use something, right? That's when they're most attentive.
Yeah. Great point, Tracy. Great point. I'm Elizabeth Swan, and you're listening to the Just in Time Cafe podcast. In a short while, you'll get to hear our interview with Ahren Crickard, Director of the Center for Operational Excellence at UC San Diego.
Up next, it's Q&A.
Today's question is, are you comfortable getting lost? And this question was sparked by a book I'm reading called Flux by April Wren, who I got a chance to meet recently at the APQC conference. That's the American Productivity and Quality Center. They have a knowledge and process management conference every year, which is phenomenal with great people. But her chapter titled Get Lost, made me reflect on our attitudes toward doing that, right? Is it considered a failure or an opportunity? And immediately you think back to when's the last time I got lost? So I got lost last summer. We were taking some friends kayaking. I read a book about all the put-in spots, in the Cape. And I thought we were I knew where we were going, right? I looked at the map. I looked at what they called it. I put it into Google Maps, but we ended up on a dirt road that had these divots and potholes that were so huge. I think my husband had to start driving 2 miles an hour. But even so, the kayak started to fall off the rack. We had to stop. Retime, put it up. I felt terrible. I thought this was going to be a short trip to the water. It lasted so long, we almost turned around, but we couldn't, right? We're on this dirt road. It was like, how do we even turn around this thing? You know, there's woods on either side of us. And both these friends of mine, we often put them in the front of the truck because they are both susceptible to motion sickness. And this road was really not helping them, you know, but when we got there, it was stunning. And I've lived here, I mean, I grew up here, but I've been here as an adult over 20 years, and I've never seen this place. You know, we kayaked past islands covered in like dozens of these great white egrets. They were beautiful. And we were largely all alone. We paddled through like a big estuary. And because of doing that, we invested in a new kayak rack that couldn't be toppled quite so easily. And I want to find it again, right? And there were also, Tracy, there were tons of clams. So you know I have to go back and get more of those.
Yes.
Yeah. So how about you? How do you feel about getting lost?
Well, you know, in the times that I think about getting lost, it sounds terrifying. So I think about when we got lost in Japan, nobody speaks English. We couldn't figure out what train to take. It took over an hour, and that was not a great experience. And then I remember when my 5-year-old got lost at SeaWorld, and that was also terrifying. But I think purposefully getting lost, well, in the wilderness, I kind of feel like it always ends up being kind of a cool experience, unless, you know, you're lost for days, but it can be fun. Or purposeful wandering and exploring is definitely my jam. And I had a very similar experience to you. When I first started biking, mountain biking, I started exploring trails for my house, and I was amazed at what I found and surprised. You know, I lived there for 15 years, and I never knew the beauty in those trails and the hills that I was surrounded by. And it was completely paradigm shifting. So it is really about changing your thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when I think about getting lost at work, it reminds me of what you and I call the messy middle of problem solving, right? You have to be open to going down the wrong path to find root cause, to find the right experiment. You know, you have to be comfortable with the unknown, and that can feel like getting lost. Whereas going immediately from problem to solution, that's much more comfortable for people. So problem solving means being comfortable getting lost in my book. And in the book, she goes into how different cultures treat being lost. You know, for many, it's seen as an opportunity. She discussed the Japanese term wabi-sabi, which I'd never heard, which means love of imperfection. And in their culture, it means the path to wisdom and success, right? And for me, that gets into my notion of learning the most from mistakes, right? We see that, we're both instructors. We see that in our students. They get it wrong. They don't get it wrong again. So that really struck me.
If anyone is interested, the book is called Flux: 8 Superpowers for Thriving in Constant Change by April Rind. And both Elizabeth and I want to encourage you to get lost. I will also say that I really love, Elizabeth, your nod to problem solving. As a matter of fact, our book, The Problem Solver's Toolkit, also kind of focuses on the analogy of going on an adventure and being very exploratory. We kind of use the analogy of going on a traveling in your car on a road trip. And and it does, when you change your mind about solving problems, sometimes people don't want problems and they get annoyed and they don't, it's like energy sucking. But if you think about it and change your mind and the way you're thinking about it, and you think about it as an adventure and you're learning, it kind of changes everything,
I'm with you, Tracy. So get lost.
I'm Tracy O'Rourke. You're listening to the Just in Time Cafe podcast. We host these monthly, so you can go to www.jitcafe.com and go to our podcast page.
Coming up next, it's our featured guest, Ahren Crickard. Tracy, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Ahren?
I would love to. I know Ahren for a very long time now because she works at UC San Diego. She's the director for the Center for Operational Excellence out of the Office of the Executive Vice Chancellor. And she focuses on serving the faculty and staff in academic affairs by best supporting best practices administration, bringing innovative and transformative leadership to jumpstart organizational growth has been the foundation of Ahren's success at the university. And she's definitely a people person, and she loves process improvement. Her and I actually did some nonprofit work together for Kitchens for Good. She actually volunteered to come out to make improvements to the soup kitchen at the Rady Shell. The center, though, drives continuous improvement and process efficiencies and accelerates the adoption of transformative change through collaboration, communication, and professional development. And we're going to talk about Process Palooza with Ahren Crickard because it's coming up in August.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
are honored to have her at the cafe.
Honored. Welcome, Ahren.
Thank
Hey.
you. Thank you so much. Great to see you all.
Yes, welcome. And thank you for joining us to the cafe so we can talk about UC San Diego's upcoming Process Palooza. Woo-hoo!
Yes. So excited.
So 7th year since 2017, UC San Diego's Process Palooza, a high energy collaborative experience showcasing and celebrating the power of continuous improvement. Notice I did not say it's a conference.
I love it, Tracy. That's great.
And it's also on August 21st and 22nd of 2024. And it's about professional exchanges, sessions, workshops, games, competitions, and tours to inspire organizations and individuals to share. And wow, it's really becoming a big deal. And the fact that you guys have done it every year for the last 7 years. So tell me a little bit about how you guys have been able to continue to do this. And I have more questions after that.
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that's so fun about this event is you're right, it's an event, it's not just a conference, is that we have that competition component where we're taking an actual broken process that we have on our campus and just putting it out there for teams to look at and think about how they could improve the process. And at the end of the competition, not only do we have winners, and we can talk about that more later, Tracy, but we have a whole lot of solutions that all the teams come up with that we actually use to implement to solve the problem on our campus. And I think, higher education, we love higher education, but it tends to be a little more siloed, hierarchical. Let's form a committee, let's form a work group to solve problems. And this is it's a very innovative, fresh way to just openly look at things that we know we could be doing better in a safe space and think about just welcoming all kinds of creative ideas on how we could come up with some solutions.
Yes.
Ahren, I wanted to ask you, because I've not been to Process Palooza. I unfortunately live on the East Coast, although Tracy tries to suck me in every year. He's like, you got to come out.
Sometime you have to come join us at Palooza.
Oh,
yeah.
I am always drawn, but So I want to ask you, because it's built on, like you're describing, these really cool improvement ideas, and they're real, right? These are not like, hey, and invent a simulated idea problem. This is like real deal stuff. So do you have an example of a really cool improvement that came out of Palooza?
Yeah. Moshkan, meaning my colleague in ITS, she and I talk about this all the time because sometimes we had done these Process Paloozas in person, these pop-up Paloozas, we call them, in person, where, you're at a conference, higher education conference, there's a lot of institutions, a lot of universities, colleges there, and you just ask a room of people, like, what's the biggest problem on your campus? And every single time, it's 3 things that are the biggest problem. Parking. So, Tracy, it's not just us. Every institution is having the problem. Onboarding. Everybody has issues with HR onboarding and getting people up to speed quickly. And travel reimbursements. That's the third. Just being difficult. There is research, recruitment, admissions. There's a lot of reasons why people travel on university campuses, and the reimbursement process is a lot of times sticky. So those are 3 examples that we have not only done in past Paloozas, we've tackled those, but sometimes we have like repeat offenders in a good way. Summer session is one of my favorites to bring up. There's such a wonderful team that has come twice to 2 Paloozas with problems for us to help solve. And that's another one that's like, it's universal. No matter what institution you're at, they're having those same issues, process issues.
But of those, is
Yeah.
there an improvement that stands out, like a solution that came up that was like, whoa, we had not seen that before, or whoa, that's cool, or whoa, that made a huge difference? Did anything stand out? I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the process of parking was a lot better when they took inventory, and they continue to make improvements. Josh Kavanaugh, great job on our campus. But I think there was like a very manual process before of how people got like actual physical permits and hung them in their windshield. And then somebody was going on foot and checking each permit, et cetera, et cetera. Now we use software. We don't have physical permits. We've saved so much in terms of physical waste and mailing and postage. It's been incredible. And then I think too, like in the early stages, because I think parking also we've done a couple times. It was just really seeing like, what do we need, and can we match that to what we're offering? So it's come leaps and bounds behind what it was 7 years ago.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is definitely morphing, and the Great Innovate, this competition you're talking about,
Yes.
it's to me a very just unusual offering that you don't see typically. And there's a lot of work that goes into that too, like planning the teams, making sure they're random, making sure that people aren't coming in and you're randomly assigned to a team, and then you work on this problem. And you get all this data about the actual real problem, and then they have to come and solve it. It's super interesting. It's, people want to participate every year. A lot of people that go through the yellow belt and the green belt participate in the Great Innovate. So that has been something that we've carried through. We even did it virtually, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
and our partner, Tony. Yeah. Tony Nava's amazing. He brings not only the expertise really to prep a case study. We usually do 2 case studies a year. To prep a case study, you really almost have to black belt it on the background to have all the materials prepared so that when teams ask for information, you have it and you're ready. So he not only does a great job in preparing the case study, but he makes it so fun and interactive and just like, let's just relax, make this a safe space to talk about the problem. And I think in our early years, Tracy, especially, it was tough to find people who wanted to come forward and say, I know this is actually a problem. We'd love help with this. It's hard to make people feel comfortable enough. But I think we're at the point, we've long been at the point at the campus where we're able to provide a safe space for process owners to come forward and be like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I know this is a mess, or I know this is wasteful. I know we could do this better. And oftentimes they've got ideas too, but there just isn't enough time, or they can't get people to buy in. So once we prove all of the waste that we could eliminate, then they can get leadership or whomever to buy into some of the solutions. So I think people have found it really useful.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this year's theme is the intersection of lean methodology and AI, artificial intelligence, automation, and its impacts upon increasing our knowledge flow is the focal point for this year's event. So tell us a little bit about how we arrived there at that theme.
Well, I think back in February, March, I think it was, we had the Process Palooza AI event. And we had Stephen Yorkstone come and moderate from Lean in Higher Education, the global organization, which is exciting. I know our IT teams have been working on our own Triton GPT, and then on some pilot, I would say pilot projects on our campus where we're testing out to see how could we leverage AI to, expand what we're doing already, or do things that we don't have time for, or do things that we don't want to be doing. And so they're definitely exploring some of those. Triton GPT is coming along so that people who are new to campus or employees who need some training or just basic questions can ask, instead of figuring out who do I ask this question to, they can type it into our Triton GPT and it does a search of a lot of our web resources. So anyway, I think we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations. We're on the precipice of a whole lot of activity. And I think process improvement blends so well with all of the ideas on how to leverage AI, right? Because I know from taking your class, Tracy was my instructor for my green belt. From taking your class, we can't just jump to technology as the solution, right? We need to figure out why are we doing the thing, and make sure that we're leaning out the process first. So yeah, it's natural. They're natural partners. It's gonna be great. Good conversation.
Yeah. And once again, listening to the two of you go on, because Tracy's been there every single one and constantly trying to tempt me to come out. And I want to talk about the people side, right? So and I suspect this thing gets bigger every year, but it's also a meeting of all instructors, right? So you've got all these UC San Diego instructors, of which I am one, clearly remotely, because I'm on way across on the east side, or the East Coast. But Tracy's latest temptation, she's like, come, because then you can come to the instructor mixer. And last year, and I got one of my colleagues, Jim Athon, involved with you guys, and he's just like, he'll send me love notes every year, like, oh, thank you so much for connecting me with UC San Diego. And then he drove all the way from like Alabama to join last year. And she's like, Jim was doing like a comedy segment, and Tracy knows I have an improv background. She's like, Elizabeth, you could do improv, it'd be really fun. You could get together. So yeah, she's pulling out all the stops to get me to join in, because I think it's also just a great meeting of people, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So just to clarify, it's the Lean Six Sigma alumni mixer. Anybody's invited that came to Greenbelt or Black Belt from UCSD. The instructors go. We have typically over 100 people attend, because we do that every year as well. This year we changed it. It used to be the night before. Now it's the day of at night. And last year, Elizabeth was talking about that we did Instructors Got Talent. And, all these instructors going up there. And I mean, I thought it was goofy fun, and it was. And so now I want her to be a part of the goofy fun. And this one's going to be good.
Yeah, especially if I come. If I join, it's going to be really good.
It's going to be good.
But Ahren, go ahead, Ahren.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to say, so Elizabeth, I will join in Tracy and peer pressuring you, but first of all, it is San Diego. So we have that mixer outside. It's really informal and it's just a lot of fun. I think in addition to Lean Six Sigma alums, so you're meeting people from all throughout the industry. If you're in higher education, though, you're meeting people from institutions all across the nation. And now that we've done a lot, we hosted the Lean in Higher Education Global Conference this year. We're attracting people from all over the world. Mm-hmm. And I mean, how amazing. That process improvement can be a lonely experience sometimes, Some of the staffs are very small. Some of those process improvement teams are very small. But when you come in and see that you are facing some of the same problems as your peers and your colleagues in process improvement, it is wonderful. It is inspiring, it is energizing, and it also makes you feel like, yeah, okay, I can do this, and gives you some fresh ideas. So okay, Elizabeth, I'm peer pressuring you as well.
I bring it on, man. The pressure's awesome, and it's just making it more alluring. So,
Mhm.
has the audience grown? Like, you've been at it 7 years, so how much has it changed?
Well, I will tell you way back when we were trying to, convince people, I think Lean Six Sigma, this is really something we should invest in. I remembered people saying, that's something for factories, that's not for higher education. What I love is in the past year or two, now we have industry coming to our event saying, tell me how you got to change people's minds with this process. How did you get this control phase to stick? And now I'm like, let me tell you, right? The tables have turned. I love it. I love it. So we have people from across a lot of different industries. And again, geographically from all over the world, but for sure all over the United States. This year, I will highlight myself and a colleague from UC Davis are holding an event called First Timers. It's like the Lean Journey. So welcoming people. If you're new to Process Palooza or you're new to your Lean journey, it's just a primer and a mixer to meet other people who are new to the journey. And then we'll help you like figure out what sessions you should be going to and based on what you might be interested in. So we're here to help guide you and here to help connect you.
Love it.
Yes. So a couple things also, and again, like you said, I've been doing it since 2017. I've been the MC every year. I think I'm MCing this year too, mostly. I mean, it's fun, of course. And I always have some other, MCers with me. So it's always fun. But we have added some things. So it sounds to me too like we're beefing up the workshops, if you will. Like, you could do additional training opportunities with the Kaizen workshop and the yellow belt and the root cause analysis workshop. That's the day before. And then there's also walking tours, which I am dying to go on one. I want to see this building right here. I want to see this one right here. There's a walking tour for this building at Process Palooza, right?
Tracy, you can go in that building and it's almost unnerving. It's a little scary, but it's really fun. Yeah. So I think what we, do every year is look back at the things that are the most popular and what workshops are we giving where people give feedback and say that they were very valuable. So if you're looking to come to an event where you get a really solid grounding in those foundational skills like root cause analysis, value stream mapping, and then obviously you could do white belt, yellow belt. That's like one-stop shopping. Where do you get that all in one place? The process landscaping with Prachi Rajeha, who does that every year. It's really solid, basic skills that you'll need as you start your process improvement journey, but they're always great too. Even if you're far along, they're great refreshers. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I can't wait. And also, we're going to do something around my new music video, 5S Baby. So can't wait for that too. Of course.
I can't wait. That was one of the most fun parts of last year. That was so much fun to work with you.
I have an image in my head. Of course, I was not there, but knowing Tracy, she was, probably got you guys doing the sprinkler from the stage. I mean, Tracy is just like a dance magnet. Like you can't not dance when Tracy gets you rolling. So
talk about bringing the fun. I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of these events can be kind of stuffy and kind of, very, rigorous process improvement. And I think that's what we're trying to say is we don't have to be that way. And boy, that's why Tracy is the most amazing MC, because she brings the fun and just gets people to think about like, we can talk about difficult things and still have fun.
Mhm.
I
I
love
always feel happy to be the MC at Process Palooza because I really feel like these are my people. And I will tell you, there are some conferences, they're like, oh, Tracy, she's not stuffy enough. We can't have her for the MC. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, who wants to go to those ones anyway?
Yeah. And I'll just say one last plug is, I mean, this event is so awesome. And, you know, UCSD has really done an amazing amount of work in the continuous improvement arena. I mean, it's kind of amazing. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. And my last Greenbelt class, which is publicly offered, like out of the 20 people, I think 14 of them were from UCSD, right? Staff, like they're so into it, and there's support there. There's effort there. People want to learn. They were so excited to be there. And I think that's the beauty of this. It's not like all these universities are offering process improvement. UCSD is doing and breathing process improvement. I think that's just amazing. And that's what makes this event even more fun and better.
Yeah, I think in those early stages, Tracy, right, we were just trying to like normalize the vernacular so that people felt comfortable with it. We were trying to make it a safe space again so that people felt comfortable. Like it's okay to talk about our problems. It's okay to talk about what we could do better. Now that's like the go-to. We have thousands of people who are trained in Lean Six Sigma, and that's what we kind of want to spread is how do you get that culture where people feel comfortable talking about how they do things, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the how and breaking down a process. So yeah. Anyway, Tracy, thank you so much for bringing the fun every year because it really is like part of the spirit of Process Palooza. Elizabeth, you have to come.
Yeah, no, I know I should have been paying attention to this podcast, but I just booked my ticket. I just got online to get the ticket because I had to, make sure I could go. So yeah.
All right, success, Tracy. We got it. We got it.
So Ahren, is there anything we didn't ask you that you want to tell our audience? And also, how do they find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, it's processpalooza.ucsd.edu. I mean, the only other thing is sometimes we get questions about people who want to start their own process improvement journey, and we're really open. I always tell people just reach out to any one of us because we're willing to just give you everything we have. We want higher education to catch this fever and to really embrace change and innovation and dealing with things a little bit more nimbly than we have in the past. So, and then anyone else invited who's interested in Lean Six Sigma or process improvement as well. So come join the fun. We hope to see you there and let us know how we can help you.
Yeah. If anyone out there has trouble with parking, onboarding, or travel reimbursements, man, you have got a place to be in August. Thank you, Ahren.
Thanks, Ahren. Thanks for coming to the cafe. We love you. Yeah,
love right back. And great to see you both.
We'll leave you a link to register for our August webinar because we got the amazing Bob Wallner who's going to tell us all about personal Hoshin planning. The calendar year is approaching, the end of the calendar year is approaching, and it's a great time to consider what's next. Bob Wallner is going to be our guide.
Have you registered for the big reveal? Tracy's got a brand new rap spoof lean video coming out August 1. We're going to give you some links so you can get your tickets to 5S Baby.
We're also adding links to some great lean conferences coming up. You've got options across the country in Indiana, San Diego, Atlanta, and New England. Nice selections. We're going to be there. We hope to see you there. So stay tuned for all the news by joining our community at the Just in Time Cafe.
Thanks for joining me and Tracy. You are our favorite thing about the Just in Time Cafe. And we look forward to being your lifelong learning partners.
And you got to join us every month to get your jolt of lean caffeine.